Okay, so for the second day on simplifying, I did want to do a little bit of simplifying radicals. I'm just going to throw some variables in there just so you guys kind of have an idea of how it works with variables. So same thing that we did the other day. You're still going to break this down. I know that this is going to be the square root of -1 times the square root of 150 r squared. There we go. So I know I'm going to have an I on the outside, but in this case it's a little bit different. So I'm actually going to focus on the 150 to start with, and then we're going to talk about the r squared. So we're going to break down the 50. So 150 divided by 2 is 75. 2 does not go into 75. 3 goes into 75 25 times. 3 doesn't go into 25. 5 goes into 25 5 times. 5 goes into 5 once. Okay, so I know essentially that 150 r squared, just the 150 r squared, is 2 times 3 times 5 times 5. You also have this factor in here, right? This r squared. Well, r squared, if you remember your rules of exponents, is just r times r. And remember that when we're simplifying, we're looking for doubles. So there's only 1, 2 here, so I can't take that square root. 3 here. We have a pair of 5s, so I know 5 is going to be on the outside. And I have a pair of r's, which means I'm going to have an r on the outside. And that's pretty much the only catch with these right here. So what's left on the inside? I have a 2 and a 3. And I also know that I'm going to have, because I took that out initially, I'm going to have that I on the outside. So when I write this out, I always like to have my number, my variable in my I. Or you could have I and then your variable. I'm pretty flexible with that. And then 2 times 3 is 6. And so that's going to be your answer. So there's really not much more to it. You're still looking for pairs. It's just a little bit different. So same thing here. I'm actually going to put my -5. Just going to put my -5 to start with on the outside. I know that this is going to be -1 times the square root of positive 64x cubed y. Okay, so I'm going to take that -1, and I'm actually going to remember that I also have an I for that one. So now I'm going to focus on the 64x cubed y. I'm going to simplify my 64, excuse me. 64 divided by 2 is 32. 32 divided by 2 is 16. 16 divided by 2 is 8. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So my square root of 64x cubed y is going to be 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And some of you are well aware. Then I have my x's. I have 3 x's, x cubed, so that's x times x times x. And then I have 1y. And I do the same thing that I've been doing. I look for my doubles. So square root of so I have 2 2's here, so I know I'm going to have a 2 that comes out. I have 2 2's here, and I'm going to have another 2 that comes out. I have 2 2's here. I have another 2 that comes out. I have 2 x's here. I have an x that comes out. Remember, you only write it once when it comes out. What's left on the inside that didn't have a pair? You have an x and a y. And I multiply this out. -5, -10, -40, or -20, -40. So I have -40 xi radical xy. And that's that one. Okay. I just have 2 more practice ones. If you feel good about this, then you can move on to the next one. So this next one right here, I have my 2x. I just kind of rewrite that. And all right, I know I have my negative. So I know that this is going to be the square root of -1. So I know I'm going to have an I on the outside. So then my last thing is I'm going to be focusing on the 252x to the 6th, y, z to the 5th. Okay? There are shorter ways to do this, but I'm just trying to do it, the most efficient way possible where you'll get the right answer. So I have 252 And I go through my procedures. I go 252 divided by 2 is 126. Whew. I don't know why that hurt my brain a little bit. 126 divided by 2 is 63. 2 does not go into 63. 3 goes into 63 21 times. 3 goes into 21 7 times. 7 goes into 7 once. Okay? And you can actually, well, we'll just multiply this out. So when I write this out, I know 252 is 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times 7. X to the 6, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Some of you have realized that you can divide by 2, and that would be fine. You have a y, you have z to the 5th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if that makes it easier, okay? Some of you realize you can just take the power and divide by 2, etc., etc. So what comes out of my radical? So I have a pair of 2s, so I know I'm going to have a 2 there. I have a pair of 3s, there's going to be a 3 there. I have a pair of x's, there's an x. I have another pair of x's, there's another x. I have another pair of x's, that's another x. I have a pair of z's, there's going to be a z. And a pair of z's, that's going to be a z. Okay, so what's left in here? I have a 7, a y, and a z, it looks like. So 7, y, z. So when I write this out, I multiply all my numbers out. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 3 is 12. So I'm going to have a 12. I look at how many x's. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 x's. So I have 4 x's. That's going to be x to the 4th. I have 2 z's. So that's going to be z squared, because that's what my exponent represents. I radical 7y z. Just for formative sake and whatnot, make sure you put your answers in alphabetical order. If the order is wrong, you'll still get it right, but you just won't get that immediate feedback. So this very last one, and if you don't feel like you need it, that's fine too. Okay, so I know I'm going to have a negative 2 ABC on the outside. I know because of this, I'm going to have an I. So now I look at my 384. Okay, and so we start with my 384. 384 divided by 2 is 192. 192 divided by 2 is 96. 96 divided by 2 is 48. 48 divided by 2 is 24. 24 divided by 2 is 12. 12 divided by 2 is 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. So when I rewrite this, my 384, it's going to be 2 times 2 times 2. And you can circle these from here if you want. You know you have a pair of 2s, a pair of 2s, and a pair of 2s. You don't have to rewrite it every single time. When I say show your work, I want to see your prime factorization. Okay, so 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. I'm just doing this for effect apparently. Times 2 times 3. I have 2a, so I write that as a times a. I have 2 b's, b times b, and I have 2 c's. I write it as c times c. And then I take out all of my doubles. So I have 2 here. Take a 2 out here. Take a 2 out here. These 2 and 3 stay in. I have an A. I have a B. And I have a C. What's left on the inside? 6. And sometimes there's just nothing left on the inside, and that's okay too. So I multiply my numbers. Negative 2 times 2 is negative 4, negative 8, negative 16. Okay, I look at I have 1a here and 1a here, so I have a total of 2a, so I write that as a squared. I have 1b here and 1b here. I have total b, 2b, so that's b squared. I have 1c here and 1c here. That's going to be c squared. Don't forget your I, radical 6. And there's your final answer. And